Hi, welcome to lecture number 4, Benefits of Education. In today's lecture, we hope to accomplish two things. We hope to be able to, at the end of this lecture, identify and explain the benefits of education, as well as distinguish the external benefits of education both at the private and social levels. So let's see what we have in store. The benefits of higher education, as you can see from the matrix in front of you, is divided into public, private, public economic, public social, private economic, and private social. So what are these benefits? Public economic benefits are increased tax revenues, greater productivity, increased consumption, decreased reliance on government financial support by the individual, that is. And then the public social benefits include reduced crime rates, increased charitable giving, increased community service, as well as an increased appreciation for diversity. Private economic benefits, however, include higher salaries and benefits, and those private benefits are the benefits that are accrued to the individual. The public benefits is what the entire society enjoys. So on the private side, for the individual, there are economic and social benefits. The private economic benefits for the individual include higher salaries, increased employment opportunities, better working conditions, and increased personal mobility, that is, between jobs or even between countries. The private social benefits for the individual include improved health, an improved quality of life, not just for you, but for your offspring as well as better consumer decision making, and best of all, you have more time to engage in leisure activities. Now, the private benefits are put into two main categories. The first category, no surprise, is the monetary benefit. Well, that's what we want to hear about, right? So we have the college wage premium, which is the difference between a university graduate and a secondary school graduate. Who do you think would earn more, the university graduate or the secondary school graduate? Well, we'll leave that for the next couple slides. Then you also have on the monetary side the lower probability of unemployment, so chances are you will be gainfully employed for the rest of your natural life. And then you have the higher probability of being promoted as a section leader or even a manager. With a secondary school level education, you may not be able to get promoted as quickly as someone with a university degree. More likely to be engaged in jobs with better fringe benefits as well and working conditions than that of the high school graduate. So, in other words, the university graduate tends to enjoy more monetary benefits than the secondary school graduate. No surprise there, isn't it? But what about that second category? What can that be other than a monetary benefit? Because with more education, that's what we think about, more money. But there are other benefits. Given that any thought yet? Well, let's see. They are the non-monetary benefits. Well, you may wonder, who really cares about non-monetary benefits? But these are just as important as the monetary benefits. And this is, again, the private side. And we tend to focus on the private side because the private benefits tend to be realized much more quicker than the public or benefits or the benefits that accrues to the society. As a matter of fact, the private benefits are realized within a few years upon graduation. You begin to realize those benefits. But the social or societal benefits, that is public benefits, they tend to be realized over a longer period of time. It takes more time for you to see those benefits. But we tend to focus on the individual. We're not forgetting the public, but we're also going to cover that in another lecture. So we focus today on the private benefits. You will also now the non-monetary benefits, we have the psychological benefit. Well, what is that? It means that you will be essentially running in different social circles. Well, what does that mean? It means that chances are you will have different networks because your networks will now consist of individuals who you went to university with, and they may be able to be of some assistance to you in later years because they themselves will be upwardly mobile in the social arena. You also have the improved ability to communicate, collect information, and make wise decisions. You see this point here. Yield benefits in capital and marriage markets. Yes, yes, yes. That simply means marrying up, because you will probably marry someone who you went to university with. So the household earnings will be a little bit better, and so you will yield benefits in the marriage market. Then there's family planning. The number of children you decide upon. There's more family planning with more educated individuals because you are more career driven based on what studies say. Then you will also make different decisions in terms of the level of education that you encourage your children to pursue, health management of the family, culture and values, and even the adoption of new technologies. Now, in this graph that you're looking at now is where we will look at a graphical illustration of the benefits of as well as a cost-benefit analysis model. But we focus on the benefits in this area. So here we have the cash flow on the vertical axis, and the horizontal axis we have age, which represents the individual's lifespan. Now this line here represents the lifetime earnings for the individual with a secondary school education. So you see, we're assuming that you start working at age 18, not 0. Of course, you can't be working at 0. So from 18 you begin working. Now we have superimposed on that the earnings, the lifetime earnings for the individual with a university education. Notice, there's something different going on right here, which we will explain just now. But think about this for a minute. It means that you start working at 18, or you start university at 18 approximately. And if you start working at 18, you immediately begin earning right out of secondary school. However, if you decide to go to university, you're essentially making no money. Notice, it's negative. You are dis-savings because you're not earning any income, yet you have to go to and from school. So you are dis-saving at the expense of your parents or your guardian. But that's another lecture. So this here from 22 to 65 represents the lifetime earnings. So let's see what this means, because this is of particular interest to us, because there's some gaps here that we need to explain. So here we have a closer look at this. So now we have some different areas that are represented. So let's see. This H, that's the secondary school graduate's lifetime earnings. And then we have the lifetime earnings of the university graduate. Well, we said if you decide to go to university at age 18, it means that you are dis-saving. So this here, you are dis-saving for this period. And that dis-savings is because of the cost of attendance, and your income is 0. Now, the cost of attendance includes things like books, transportation, room and board, food, parties. Don't forget parties, that's important as well. And clubs. Okay, so this B here is the foregone earnings. Remember we said you can do two things at age 18. Go to university and live off of whoever is taking care of you, or you can start working right away. Now, if you start working right away, it means you'll be earning an income. But if you are in school, it means this represents your foregone earnings. It means that this is the opportunity cost of attending school. You would not be earning anything. But once you graduate and you find a job, we give you a little window here to find a job, then it means your earnings will immediately be way higher than that of the secondary school graduate, because you will be more productive. And that's, again, that translates higher levels of education, higher levels of productivity, and employers tend to pay you a much higher wage. So your lifetime earnings is way higher than the secondary school graduate up until retirement, assuming you retire at 65. Of course, you can retire at 50. But this A represents the private benefits of higher education. Now, you see why we say the private benefits are accrued to the individual much quicker than the society? Now, eventually, the public sector will begin to benefit from higher taxes, increased tax revenues, reductions in crime, and all of those good things. But those social benefits, again, we'll cover in another lecture. We just wanted to acknowledge them here because we want you to be able to identify both private and public, as well as be able to distinguish the differences between them at the various levels. So, what's next? Let's see. We have some interesting new benefits. Individuals with more education based on research are less inclined to be abused and neglected. Probably has something to do with being independent. They may or may not smoke. I'm not saying. Based on the research, they said less likely to smoke. Not less smoking, but less likely to smoke. Which means your health outcomes would be quite different. You're less likely to suffer from depression. And then one of these new interesting benefits, which we'll talk more about, are the maternal earnings from employment. So hopefully you enjoyed today's lecture. Just to recap, we talked about the private and public benefits. We also talked about private social and private economic. We talked about the public social and public economic. So hopefully you will be able to identify them, and we'll talk more about these things in class when we meet next time as you review your lecture notes.